Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom and a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Here. He said yes.
Here.
Mr. Krieger.
Here.
Mr. Marne.
Here.
Mr. Blake.
Here.
Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Mrs. Dowling. Here.
Council, you're in receipt of the October 18, 2022 work session minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes. You're also in receipt of the
Mrs.
October...
Dowling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Ms. Dowling.
Now.
You're also in receipt of the October 18, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Public hearings, we have none. Tabled legislation, we have none. New legislation. Ordinance number 22-0-089.
An ordinance amending Part 1, Title 7, Section 155.08 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended to amend the meeting schedule of the Municipal Planning Commission.
Anyone? Mr. Zeman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of council. This comes from the Municipal Planning Commission, primarily because towards the end of the year, and as the administration also noted, often the holiday vacation periods have caused some conflict with both getting sufficient lead time for applicants to get their submissions in, for the administration to review and generate their staff reports, as well as follow up on any needed action items in order to complete their review. And so what they're looking to do is, rather than the very restrictive, you must meet every third week, is to allow towards the end of the year a little bit of flexibility, and also to allow for some flexibility should there be a conflict with a holiday, elsewhere in the year. So it's not to necessarily do less meetings as opposed to scheduling them at better times for both for the applicants as well as the administration. Thank you.
And they could do that through the process of amending on their own, or?
Correct. It'd still be meetings every 3 weeks, but it would allow for a little bit of flexibility just on limited periods during the year where the Planning Commission could by motion say, all right, let's move what would otherwise be this third meeting an additional week, and we'll avoid some conflicts. Again, both from the city's perspective as well as from applicants' perspectives, they felt it could be beneficial to have that flexibility.
Thank you, sir. Council?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Ordinance number 22-0-089 is approved. Next ordinance is ordinance number 22-0-090.
An ordinance amending Part 1, Title 5, Section 151.13 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended to modify the position of law clerk to legal administrative assistant.
Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Ordinance number 22-0-090 is approved.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Ordinance number 22-0-091.
An ordinance to authorize transfers of funds, advances of funds, and revisions to appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Council. Mr. Filipiak, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malinowski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Members of council, this ordinance does three things. Firstly, it authorizes a permanent cash transfer out of the city's Community Rec Facilities Fund in the amount of $100,000, split evenly and going to two different funds. Firstly, the Amphitheater Fund, and secondly, the Springbrook Park Early Phase Fund, Park Fund. Secondly, the appropriate re-advancing out of the general fund for both of those projects is in Section 2, and that would represent the outstanding amount still to be paid in the future out of our Community Rec Facilities Fund. And then finally, Section 3 has a $32,000 appropriation ordinance for the general fund to pay costs related to the lagoons bulkhead replacement Phase 4. I would recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Council?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Ordinance number 22-0-091 is approved. Ordinance number 22-0-092.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Burgess and Nyepel, Inc. for the architectural and engineering services for the Wildwood Cultural Center storage facility project and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. We had the opportunity to talk a little bit about this at your work session earlier, which I think concluded at least that we would be looking to place a new necessary storage facility in the same location as the two storage buildings in significant disrepair just off the parking lot at the Wildwood Cultural Center. We're looking, council, to replace this building with a larger one. 40 by 60 is the estimated size to be able to meet the present and future needs of the city, not only for the Recreation Department and Wildwood Cultural Center, but also to assist with the Rec Department and Public Works Facility for storage of equipment that can be utilized as a strategic holding point to serve other portions of the city to the south. What you have before you is an architectural contract, architectural design, and site preparation contract from Burgess and Nyepel. We've had a good working relationship with Burgess and Nyepel. We have evaluated the qualifications both on past jobs and in preparation for this project and found them to be qualified. This is essentially a cradle to grave agreement here, which would the contract would include field preparation, all utility markings and maps to evaluate what's in the area and to move forward with the design. It would be control survey and topographic survey at the location. It would include all utility mapping for that which exists and which would be placed. It would include design concepts for the city to review prior to final design. And the purpose behind that is as council is aware, it's the administration's desire to put up a building, while not fancy, one that we think fits in with the character of our cultural center. So there's schematic design concepts. They would also be doing specifications to be written in for the demolition of those existing buildings, and then move on to construction documents that would include all contract preparation, the contract book, final design, architectural drawings and design. They would secure building permits, provide cost estimates to the city, and take us through the bidding process. During the construction phase, they would be available for any necessary construction services, whether that's drawing review or whatever comes up during that construction phase. The $66,200 price is actually two components: $57,500 for the geotechnical services, mapping services, survey, and design, and then $8,700 for the bidding services. So happy to answer any questions. Mr. Kaminsky, it might be helpful to just kind of update council a little bit as to the need out there and the actual state of disrepair of the buildings.
Thank you, Mr. Flipiak, members of council. As I had shown you at the work session, some of the pictures of the decaying facility that we have out there, and I didn't even get the really bad ones that showed the inside of the facility. I just showed the out ones. As you're all aware, it is an eyesore when you first come into Wildwood. The need for this for us is pretty drastic. You guys have been to all of our events that we have out there, the storage that is needed. The idea that this is going to be multi-use between Wildwood, Parks and Recreation, as well as Public Works, works fantastically for us. Making it accommodate and look like a Tudor design is important to us as the administration, so that it matches the facility out there. And I recommend that we proceed with this ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Kaminsky, I have a question. Is that going to enable you to store some stuff that's stored in Wildwood House and get rid of some of that stuff so we could use these other rooms for other things
That
they're
is
supposed to
correct.
be used for?
That is correct. If you've been down into our basement
Yes.
and you see the tours that we give through there, we have a lot of items that are stored down there. That would be shipped out there. If you go up to the third floor,
Yeah.
when we have the off-season, the winter off-season, all that storage is up there, that would be shipped outside as well.
I appreciate that.
Also, Mr. President, I should have mentioned this, we're also, well, again, this is this building won't have heat, it'll really just be electrical, but also we'll be constructing a loft, a second level loft to be able to maximize the storage for a lot of the stuff that you see that is really clutters up and in the main structure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Counsel.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
No.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Ordinance number 22-0-092 is approved. Ordinance number 22-0-093.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Classic Ford for the purchase of 2023 or current model year Ford F-550 4x4 ambulance chassis and declare an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll turn this over to the chief in a minute, but similar to the discussion, I think council will remember when Chief Gunch brought in an ordinance before you for the need to quickly act to order police vehicles for the upcoming year. We're really kind of beholden to the car companies, in this case, the Ford Motor Company, in terms of our ability to order these products. And so they've created a small window for us, and we're trying to hit that mark. So, Chief, do you want to talk about what we're buying here and why?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Flepiak. And I'll give you some background on that. As outlined in our staff report, supply chain issues, worker shortages, and everything going on in the world today has created a national shortage of chassis for ambulances. Squad 1142, which was approved by council over a year ago, will not be delivered into 2024 if we want to hold that price. And in this year's budget, we had Squad 1152's replacement, but we couldn't order it because the manufacturer doesn't have a chassis to build it on. And we could also not get a chassis for dive rescue vehicle 1147. So we have a critical need to maintain our fleet to get 3 chassis. 2 of the chassis will be built with ambulance boxes, and the 3rd chassis will be to replace our dive vehicle. As the manager mentioned, and with the help of Maintenance Supervisor Ray Nurl, we learned that Classic has a short, narrow window to order chassis. We're hoping to order 3 chassis from Classic to get in line. It's important to note that we did price quote these chassis that they're going to order for us, and their quote was $44,685 below Valley Ford's price. And another Ford dealer, Montos Auto Group, couldn't even fill out the order blank for the chassis. So if we can get in line, so to speak, to get these chassis, they should be here by the spring of 2023. The manufacturer, at least one manufacturer, said he'll put the body on the chassis, and we'll get our squads when we need them. If we don't get in line, we may not see a squad till 24 or maybe even into 2025. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Chief, I asked you earlier, we're going to purchase the chassis, and then the boxes come later. and I asked you, where are we gonna hold on to these chassis until they put them together? You said the people who install the boxes are gonna take them for us right
It
away?
is our hope to have them shipped right to the manufacturer. We at least spoke with Braun, who has manufactured our ambulance for the past number of years, and he stated that would be no problem. They're
Well,
willing
we don't
to
have to store them, is what?
Yeah. Our hope would be send them right to the manufacturer we choose.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake?
if I could just add one comment. Chief, I want to thank you for being forward-thinking on this. One of the cover letters that we got in these estimates states that General Motors currently has 95,000 unfinished vehicles. And that's, I guess, according to what they say, is from the chip shortage. So this is really critical that we get these orders in if we're gonna keep our fleet the way that we want it. So good job on this. I appreciate that.
And I'd like to just comment, Ray Nurl from our Maintenance Public Works facility assisted a lot. He was trying to complete the search, and he works with Lance Simmons from Classic, and so that's how we had that contact. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you,
job, thank
counsel.
you. Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Ordinance number 22-0-093 is approved. Ordinance number 22-0-094.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a Mentor Economic Development Grant with Mentor Radiant Dermatology, LLC.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President, and happy to introduce another new business to our city. Mr. Malachek.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak and members of council. We are pleased to welcome Radiant Dermatology, administered by Dr. Miriam Finkel, to the Lindsay building over on Lindsay Drive. Bit of a recruitment effort by our office to make sure that she chose Mentor as the home of her practice. She's investing over $175,000 in new renovations for her dermatology practice. Will create 6 new jobs over the next year, 8 new jobs by the end of 2025. Their payroll is expected to be $200,000 for 2023, and then growing to $284,000 by the end of 2025. And we are recommending an ED grant in the amount of $3,000 to her practice.
Thank you, Mr. Malachek. Counsel?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling. Yes.
Ordinance number 22-0-094 is approved. Ordinance number 22-0-095.
An ordinance enacting Part 1, Title 3, Section 113.01 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended to adopt the Administration Employee Handbook as policies applicable to council employees and designating the President of Council as having charge of the routine day-to-day management of the council employees.
Counsel?
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake?
I'm trying to figure out what this really says.
Okay.
Right now, in the council office, our council clerk and assistant council clerk answer to all of council.
Mm-hmm.
And if this were to pass, the council president would handle routine items that come up in the council office?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. If you read it, it has, there's no decisions or authority of the president or vice president of dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation.
So, I guess.
And all
what I-
that comes on of all council, all the rest of that language.
I guess what we would be doing is council would be sort of giving up our oversight in favor of routine items being handled by council president.
Mhm.
And what are those routine items?
Vacation, sick time, how training's going in the office, things like that. That kind of, sort of maybe even setting up a training program with the clerk of council and the assistant clerk?
I
A
think,
schedule maybe, things
I-
like that.
I think at this time, I'd like to place this on first reading because one of the components in here is to adopt the administrative employee handbook, which I don't think anybody on council received because we're not employees, and I haven't had a chance to look through that. So before I could vote on this item, I'd like to see that handbook, and it wasn't included with this legislation. I don't even know how long it is. If it's a book or if it's, I don't know what's in it.
It's completely up to you, your opinion.
So I'd like to move to place this on first reading.
Second.
You never seen an employee handbook?
Not this one. I've seen employee handbooks. but
Julie,
not
call
this.
the roll. Yes, yeah.
All right. Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Okay, that's on going to second reading. Resolution number 22-R-118.
A resolution adopting the 2022 Lake County Hazard Mitigation Plan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Searles, please.
Thank you, Mr. Flipak, members of council. This is simply a 5-year update of the 2017 mitigation plan as adopted by the state. Passage allows jurisdictions in Lake County to be eligible for funding under FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Recommend adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Council?
Move to suspend.
Second. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second. Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Resolution number 22-R-118 is adopted. Second readings, we have none. Third readings, we have none. Mr. Manager's report.
Thank you, Council. Mr. President, happy to report, Council, that we had a very successful Halloween trick-or-treating in our city last night. We had no safety-related incidents to report, and our police and fire services were elevated, as they are each year, to make sure that our kids stayed safe out there. With the holidays approaching, we would like to remind everyone to shop local. 68 cents of every dollar spent local stays local. Mentor has over 300 stores and over 175 eateries that serve our community, and you can download a copy of our Mentor Visitor's Guide at www.shopinmentor.com, which is updated on a regular basis. And we thank everyone in our city and throughout Lake County for continuing to support local owners. Lifeline's low-income household water assistance program provides eligible residents assistance in paying water and wastewater bills if they are past due or disconnected. Also, the Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as HEAP, helps Ohioans at or below 175% of the federal poverty guidelines to help pay their heating bills for the winter. For more information or to qualify, contact Lifeline directly at 440-350-9160, or also visit them at their website at lclifeline.org. With winter approaching, it's a good time to sign up for the Lake County's reverse 911 system to receive weather alerts, road closures, and other emergency information via text or email. Registration takes less than a minute, and you can visit that site and sign up at reverse911signup.info. Residents are reminded that during the fall, the amount of yard waste homeowners can put out each week is increased now from 12 to 25 units a week. A unit is one bag, one bundle, or one container of yard waste. Each unit should weigh less than 35 pounds, and branches should not exceed 3 inches in diameter and must be cut into 4-foot lengths or less and tied in bundles. Only biodegradable paper yard waste should be used. Plastic bags are not acceptable. Waste can also be placed into reusable containers of up to 32-gallon capacity with holes drilled on the side or near the bottom to allow for the water to drain. And we asked residents who will use those reusable containers to keep the lid off and ensure that the container is prominently marked YW. Otherwise, it'll get thrown in the garbage with the rest of it. The Mentor Police Department will host their 9th annual Fill a Cruiser Food Drive on Sunday, November 13th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Giant Eagle at 8383 Tyler Boulevard. Officers will be collecting non-perishable food items and cash donations that will be distributed to food pantries to benefit families within the city of Mentor. Over the past 8 years, officers have filled 20 police vehicles with food donations and collected almost $15,000 in cash donations to help those in need. So we appreciate all the community support that we've gotten for that program over the years. The final asphalt paving of Brooksdale Road was completed last Friday, and I'm extraordinarily happy to say that this completes all streets within the Headlands Area Street Rehabilitation Program. So congratulations, Councilman Krieger. That was so we'll have a little summary, and we plan on doing a little public awareness of how that program has advanced over the last 5 years or so as a recap, because we're really happy of how that turned out. Final full-depth concrete repairs were completed last week on Market Street. Asphalt paving is expected to occur this week. Pavement markings will be placed next week, and the road will then be reopened to two-way traffic. So we know that's been a bit of a hassle, but that, as council is aware, that project needed a lot of work, and unfortunately, as an OPWC project, couldn't get started until after July 1st. Our Veterans Day ceremony will be held on Friday, November 11th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Mentor Veterans Memorial on the corner of Center Street and Civic Center Boulevard. We do this every year to honor the men and women who have served our country in the military. Veterans groups are invited to participate. Contact the Recreation Department at 440-974-5720 for details. In the event of inclement weather, the ceremony will be moved inside the Mentor Senior Center. And then finally, Council, we have 2 new businesses to announce. Hopefully I'm saying this correctly. Luce del Sol Studios at 8806 Mentor Avenue and the Rainforest Car Wash at 7350 Palisades Parkway. And we thank them for their investment in the city and wish them great success in the future. That's all.
I think that was French, Kevin. You know French, right? How did
I
you do
believe
on
that's
this?
Italian. Mr.
That's Italian?
President.
All right, see.
Luce del Sol.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Mr. President, real quick, congratulations to the Parks and Recreation Department. Mysteries on the Manor Trail, that's its official name, was really neat. And it was cool how all the different departments in Parks and Rec had their own little theme going. So from the ice skating to the marina, it was neat. It was a well-attended event. It was very nice.
Always a sold-out event.
Yes, it was neat.
Thank you, Mr. Marne. Clerk's correspondence?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Commission committee reports. Council, you're in receipt of the Municipal Planning Commission, September 29, 2022. Old business? New business?
Oh, Mr. President.
Mr. Marne.
As Mr. Blake mentioned, can we have the law director send everybody a copy of the handbook so everyone has it? If they have any questions, contact the law director.
Yeah.
We don't deal a lot with that, but it's always good to know, especially when we run into different employees from time to time in the city.
Thank you.
And it being part of the administrative where we're legislative.
Thank you. That was new business. Persons before council, we have none.
Move to adjourn. Put that on my tombstone.